All right, so from Bungie, our sandbox team has prepared a lengthy list of changes coming with Ash and Iron September the 9th. Grab some water, a snack, and read it here. Wait, what? Bungie's dropping this right now? It's a Wednesday. Patch notes! Actually, excuse me. Patch preview! Sandbox tuning preview for Ash and Iron. Ash and Iron is almost upon us, and we'll be returning to the Plaguelands very soon. Our sandbox team has been prepping a lengthy list of changes coming with our first major update available to all players, which focuses on weapons, perks, exotic armor, and a handful of abilities. Additionally, we have some tuning changes targeting PvP combat within Crucible. Sandbox can be a complex conversation. Diving deep into the numbers, cones, and mechanics of Destiny is no easy task. We've added notes and explanations to help here, but some changes will make the most sense when you hop into the game and get a feel for how they play in combat. Snag of water, take your time, and feel free to hit us with questions. Without further ado, we hand it off to the sandbox team. All right, let's see what this is all about. A Wednesday drop. Can you believe this? All right, so global changes. Weapon hipfire reticles. Various hipfire reticles and hipfire reticle elements have been updated with 3 goals in mind. The first is to make reticle properly communicate the weapon's firing performance. The second is to tone down visual complexity and or improve the visuals of reticle elements, perk active, pips, and charge meter. The third is to update reticle elements to properly adapt with changes to field of view, bloom, and auto aim, which eliminates situations where they could overlap with each other and in turn allows them to move in closer to the primary reticle. The positioning of perk active indicators, pips, charge meters, and text mechanical horns now all adapt to size changes in the primary reticle due to field of view, bloom, and auto aim. Due to this, most of these have also moved closer to the primary reticle. Trinity Ghoul's perk active indicator has unique positioning due to its split arrow behavior. The pips on the Vex Mythic class have been moved to appear underneath the reticle. Barrow Dyad's pip positioning is untouched in order to keep them aligned with the charge meter and hollow sight. That makes sense. Monte Carlo's perk active indicator is untouched. The pips now have more simplistic visuals in order to lower overall visual complexity. In addition, pips will now disappear completely unless you have at least one pip. Deterministic Chaos pips are untouched and maintain their old visuals since their function is unique on this weapon. For those that don't know, these are the little nodes, the indicator that you're getting stacks of whatever that perk is, right? It's the indicator on the reticle that they're talking about. The curved charge meters now have the max charge indicator that horizontal charge meters have. Delicate Tomb, Yodin, Salvation Script now use horizontal charge meters. A few weapons in their perk active states now use a different reticle that communicates their firing behavior more accurately. Grand Overture, Desolation, Devil's Ruin, Cryosthesia, and Touch of Malice. This kind of feels like a non-issue, TBH. It's quality of life thing, guys. It's quality of life. Yep. Lumina now uses the support hipfire reticle when aiming at allies while you have noble rounds. Support frame auto rifles, non-healing mode, now have a brand new hipfire reticle. Legendary Text Mechanica submachine gun SMG hipfire reticles now have horns. To maintain a consistent visual and functional language for reticle elements, the pips on Telesto and Traveler's Chosen have been removed and will be visible only as HUD buffs. Yeah, I mean that is fine. Visual machine gun and fusion rifle hipfire reticles now appear more consistently similar across all weapons within each archetype, regardless of input method. Vex Mythic class is exempt from this change due to its unique firing performance. All right, Deterministic Recoil. Deterministic Recoil, the set pattern by which a weapon shifts recoil direction when being fired, is something we're removing in Ash and Iron. We had a goal when introducing this feature for players to be able to master their individual weapons, knowing just how it would recoil and being able to build to know exactly how it would perform. However, weapons can sometimes feel harder to control or need recoil stat help that is counterintuitive to our in-game display or visual firing patterns. Therefore, we're removing this and we'll be looking into other options in the future. We're retaining Deterministic Recoil on Vigilant Swing here. Here we believe Deterministic Recoil fulfills our goals. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I never really cared to pull up a weapon's organic recoil direction when for years we've just worked off a recoil direction by itself. You know, odd numbers making things more vertical, throwing on things like arrowhead break, maxing it out if you can get it up to 100, things like that. No, it's not that you're going to have random recoil, guys. It's just the biggest determining factor for your recoil is going to be the recoil direction stat of the weapon. There's one thing to be like, all right, my organic recoil of my weapon is in combination with whatever the recoil direction fluctuation may be based on whatever mods or perks or whatever else, barrel perks I may throw on it. You see where I'm coming from? In some ways, it can be counterproductive because it can work against you when this recoil direction stat should be something working in your favor when you build into it. It depends on what it lands on, of course. But I'm just saying, for me, I've always preferred just the recoil stat, the recoil direction stat, all on its own. All right, now weapon archetypes. Notes, we have a larger balance pass and more families of weapons coming in the future with specific emphasis on balance between special ammo archetypes and close quarter battle primary weapons, close quarter combat. But there were some high priority items that we wanted to pull forward. So heavy burst sidearms. Several patches ago, we increased the ADS damage fall off scalar of heavy burst sidearms from 1.2 to 1.3. While this has been beneficial for the rest of the subfamily, forgiveness was a bit of an outlier when it comes to the total stat package. And this increased range has pushed it over the top. Instead of reducing the range of all heavy burst sidearms back down, we've decided to target forgiveness specifically to bring it more in line. So forgiveness reduced range stat by 15. Well, it's a very good sidearm. And I'm going to make sure I collect all the gameplay for the review before this nerf happens, because man, does it put out. It's nasty. No, for real, guys. For real. I wouldn't say it's a problem. I will say this. It is so hard to win a duel in close quarters against forgiveness. That tier 5, that God roll, man. Oh, it puts out, dude. It puts out. I pretty much it's out here. Someone starts shooting me with forgiveness and they're in close proximity and I don't have a special weapon to deal with them. I almost just let them kill me. I'm like, Frostbow, please kill them now. Aggressive submachine gun. In the days since Immortal Reign and the Crucible SMGs in general, and the aggressive subfamily specifically, have received multiple nerfs, leading to them falling far behind other CQB options in effectiveness. In the future, we plan to take a larger swing at increasing SMG ease of use, but for now, we're going to focus on a more target change to aggressives, which should allow them to better compete with sidearms and spread shot hand cannons. So increase ADS damage fall of scalar from 1.4 to 1.5. Fantastic, Bungie. I just deleted my God roll immortal yesterday. Spread shot hand cannons. While spread shot hand cannons have proven to be a fun new tool in close combat, they are just a little bit too easy to use outside their intended engagement windows, and they can be frustrating to fight against. We're going to take a few targeted swings at addressing this friction with accompanying paired ability tuning outlined later in this article to create a smoother PvP experience. So increase damage versus combatants by 8%, added a 0.1 second delay after firing before you can melee to prevent near simultaneous damage events, increase pellet spread angle by 5%, reduce flinch delta players by 30%. All right, getting a nerf in PvE. Look at that. Sniper rifles. Snipers in general have fallen by the wayside in Crucible due to both the difficulty of maintaining ammo and the increased flinch they take versus players. Now that special ammo uptime in general has been reduced, we're going to start looking to bring some of the power back to these weapons. Our first change will be to help address their ammo economy, and we're currently playtesting changes to the flinch system that will release in a future update. So increase ammo per brick pickup in Crucible from 1 to 2. Ah, damn it, baby. Brother, that's pretty massive. No, that's pretty massive. So snipers are back? Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, lightweight shotguns. Lightweight shotguns are currently eclipsed by the precision pellet brethren, so we're going to start narrowing the gap in effectiveness between them. This is only our first pass, and we're still playtesting additional changes to give players a reason to run aggressives and lightweights in Crucible. Decrease pellet spread angle by 6%. All right, we'll see. At one time, I don't know if y'all remember, at one time, lightweights used to be the meta. Like, they were the shotgun meta. And then, of course, aggressives, too. So, it's always a rotation. Crossbows. Crossbow bolts now have a heavy ammo radar marker, visible only to the player who owns them. Updated weapon tray icon, obituary, and kill feed to reflect the crossbow's unique silhouettes. Good. That's good. Interesting. This is really nice. What a nice quality of life feature. I honestly thought they were about to say Temporal Blast is not supposed to proc this often for crossbow, and there's your nerf, but good stuff. All right, exotic weapons. Featured weapon expansion. In Ash and Iron, we'll be expanding the featured exotic weapon list with the following options. They'll benefit from the artifact buff and contribute to your score with an intent to add more diversity in loadouts. We've also revisited a few of these options to make them a bit more appealing. But I still don't like this list. Y'all know that, right? Kinetic slot weapons, Redacted, Mighty Multitool, Stern, Energy, Trinity Ghoul, Buried Bloodline, Heavy, Redacted, Darcy, Heart Shadow, Sleeper Simulant, Tractor Cannon. Okay. But redacted. So we're getting two exotics. New exotics. Okay. Mida Multitool. Mida Multitool is a stat monster, but the exotic part of it has unfortunately been left behind as our standards for exotics have evolved. We decided to take inspiration from its source material, taking a larger swing to raise this closer to modern standards, while also seizing an opportunity to incorporate new pairing functionality with Mida synergy weapons. So new trait, Mida software package. Getting enough kills with Mida Multitool now provides various buffs and incremental PvE damage bonus after reaching certain thresholds. So stage 1, 25% faster handling, ADS speeds, 5% PvE damage. Stage 2, 15 range and stability, 5% PvE damage. Oh, another 5%. Okay. Stage 3, 15% AA and magnetism ranges, 5% cone angle, 5% PvE damage. Okay. And then stage 4, shots detonate on impact. Oh, it doesn't say it, but if it's detonated, it should be, if it's like a payload perk, it should be doing increased damage on top of that. And it says shots. So I guess once you reach stage 4, every shot, it just becomes explosive rounds. Yeah. All right, though kills with this weapon that have the Mida synergy intrinsic also grant progress toward these buffs. Primary ammo Mida synergy weapons grant progress at a rate on par with Mida Multitool. On death, you regress to the beginning of the previous stage. The radar while aiming functionality has been moved to the intrinsic. That's so awesome. So you'll be able to maintain these stages, if I'm understanding this correctly. So there's no fall off. It's kind of like No Land Beyond, right? Unless you swap off the weapon, you can stow it. If I'm understanding this correctly, you'll be able to stow and maintain the buff. Catalyst. Replace no distractions with a brand new catalyst. While an enemy is within close proximity and Mida Multitool is in hand, you are granted enhanced radar resolution and improved reload speed, 20 reload stat, 15 reload scalar. This buff lingers for a few seconds once enemies are no longer within close proximity. Miscellaneous very slightly increase the movement speed. Okay. I mean, this would be really, really nice. Sturm. Oh, babe. Cook, Bungie, cook. The pairing fantasy of Sturm and Drang is a unique concept, though the output does not feel worth the requirements of 2 weapon slots. The slow rate of gaining overcharged shots would lead to maining Drang until enough shots were stored, and the requirements to use Drang meant half or more of the time you felt like you weren't running an exotic. We wanted to keep the pairing requirements, so we took a larger swing with Sturm as well to help juice the feel worth the squeeze. So Storm and Stress, rapid kills with Together Forever weapons within 3 seconds of each other now load extra Sturm overcharge shots. Primary ammo Together Forever weapons load even more Sturm overcharge shots. Now Sturm overcharge shot bonus damage has been tuned. Previously, this was roughly a 261% damage buff against all combatants and a 78% buff against players. Now the values are as follows: 260% against bosses, 280% against mini bosses and champions, 300% against minors and majors, 75% against players. Okay, so that got a buff right here, and that got a buff right here. Okay. In providing Sturm more opportunities to load overcharged bullets than ever before, we've reduced the maximum Sturm overcharge to 25. The prior cap of 99 was never very realistic, and at the new limits, players are encouraged to use them as they have them far more often. Will it work with Lucky Pants? Probably not. Probably not. Accomplice. In addition to existing behavior, final blows with Sturm overcharge shots now also increase the magazine capacity of Together Forever weapons until death, capped at 100% of the base magazine. Now, Catalyst. In addition to the increased stats, Sturm now has a brand new Catalyst. With the Catalyst, kills with Sturm overcharge shots grants charges that provide a 50% ready and stow speed scalar for Sturm and Together Forever weapons. 1 stack is consumed upon readying Sturm or Together Forever weapons, max of 6 stacks. Miscellaneous. Lucky Pants now buffs the damage of Sturm overcharge shots, but at a lower than normal efficacy, 110% buff at a legally modded holster times 10. Mother of God. They actually did it. I didn't think they were going to do it. I didn't think they were going to do it, dude. Yes, so you'll be able to get the 3... Hold on. You'll be able to get the 260% buff against bosses, and then, of course, the 280, 300% buff on top of the stacking capabilities from a legally modded holster. That is crazy. They have avoided this now for years. I'm surprised they're doing it here. Bungie really wants us to play Destiny right now. They're talking dirty to us. Increased Sturm's ammo generation stat from 30 to 80. Fixed an issue where Sturm's overcharged shots were not playing the impact VFX that signify increased damage. A lens flare is now visible on opposing players' Sturm in PvP while they have active Sturm overcharged shots. So watch out. All right, that's good. That's good. All right, I'm fine with that. That's good. You do this max 200 weapon stats, Lucky Pants combo. No cook, dude. No cook. All right, Ariana's Vow. Ariana's Vow was given a small VFX adjustment to bring it in line with other special weapons in PvP. A lens flare will now be visible on opposing players' Ariana's Vow in PvP. Graviton Spike. Graviton Spike has been quite popular since the launch of Edge of Fate, particularly in the Crucible, where its performance makes it clear its overcharged modes are a bit too easy to turn on. We don't want to outright stomp this weapon down in PvP or PvE, so we're taking a small swing, placing a stricter time on both its base trait and its unique catalyst to activate. With the amount of targets in our non-Crucible activities, we found that the performance remains nearly the same, but early Crucible playtests have shown this change reduces the overall frequency of those high power fire modes enough to give this a bit more counterplay. So reduce time to gain overcharged shots from 20 seconds to 7 seconds. Reduce time to gain temporal alignment catalyst buff from infinite to 7 seconds. Oof. Benny called this exact nerf. Yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. You were able to carry charges over very easily, right? So reducing the time to gain overcharge shots means you pretty much have to commit to that gunfight in order to get the benefits. Or at least expose yourself more aggressively, allowing for more counterplay. I think people are still going to be able to use this hand cannon very effectively. It's still the best 150 in the game, even surpassing that of Sunshot. So I think it's still going to be a very good hand cannon. All right, Teraba. Long ago, when zoom changed damage fall off distance, we reduced the zoom on Teraba to stop it from being a menace in the Crucible. Now that this is no longer the case, we began the process of walking it back up and are now returning it to its original value. So increase zoom to 16. Okay. It doesn't affect range, though. Teraba Rabbit in this beast, active in addition to the Peacekeeper damage buff, was proving to be an extreme damage outlier. We wanted to make sure it stays very strong so that high investment and need for close range remain worth it. But the top end combined damage needed to come down a bit, particularly to maintain fair competition in our raid and dungeon activities. So reduce the Peacekeeper bonus damage when using Teraba with Ravenous Beast active from 100 to 70%. Was this really that meta? I actually have not used it. I haven't used Peacekeepers or Teraba all season long. I mean, I guess were people actually like farming raids with Teraba? In PvE, yes, you would get your super quick. All right, Hawkman. Hawkman was given the same treatment as Sturm by allowing Paracausal shots to benefit from Lucky Pants. Lucky Pants now buffs the damage of Paracausal shots, but at a lower than normal efficacy, 50% buff at a legally modded holster times 10. Beautiful. Beautiful. God, this is gonna cook. This is gonna cook more than Sturm, actually. I think. All right, at least I think we'll be doing damage testing, but I think it might even cook more than Sturm. That's gonna be disgusting, and you'll be able to run it back to back. New Land Beyond. New Land Beyond's perk counter, previously capped at times 100, now it stacks up to 999 for bragging rights. Increased damage is still capped at times 100. Yeah, it's not even just capped at one. Don't go to 100, guys. Go to 20 stacks, you're fine. Who the hell is out there getting this thing to 999? Dude, that's somebody Devin over there that's like, you know what'd be funny? How about we just stack it up to 1,000? Yeah. Gamers? All right, Lord of Wolves. Lord of Wolves has been a consistent part of loadouts in our raid and dungeon encounters for a while now. We're making an adjustment to let it remain a powerful option while also encouraging a bit of a diversity when dealing with our most challenging bosses. Release the wolves damage versus bosses by 20%. Oh boy. All right. There's some legendary shotguns, fellas, that you may want to consider. One of them is actually dropping this week. The other one is Pure, which everybody shit on, by the way. They saw your damage testing. They probably saw like literally every player that cleared the DP raid was running Lord of Wolves. That had nothing to do with our damage testing. Everybody was using Lord of Wolves. And they're doing this specifically leading up to the Epic Raid. All right. Grand Overture. Look at this. This was another weapon that was banned before the previous raid, right? In a long damage phase, particularly for our raid encounters, few of the weapons are able to compete with Grand Overture's total damage. Ideally, we like it to shine when players put in effort to prep a missile barrage before a damage phase instead of being one of the best options even with no preparation. This pass will rein in Grand Overtures slightly and give a bit of more space to entertain other options for specific raid encounters. So reduce total reserves from 58 to 48. Catalyst, Omega Strike micro missiles no longer require direct hits. Hit kills for enemies to explode. Enemies killed by its blast radius will now also trigger the explosion. Okay. Omega Strike micro missiles no longer require direct hit kills for enemies to explode. Enemies killed by its blast radius will now also trigger the explosion. That's the alt fire mode. Yes. Be honest, I'm not using Grand Overture. I don't know if you guys have been using it, but in terms of the raid meta for me, it's been Outbreak, Thunderlord before that, and really the crossbow. Honestly, the crossbow with Temporal Blast is all I've been using. All right, the Queenbreaker. Since its rework in Episode Heresy, the Queenbreaker has proven a reliable and easy-to-use option for consistent damage, particularly for raid and dungeon boss encounters. We're tapping it down some to bring it more in line with other similarly easy-to-use options to make a bit more space for other weapons in those fights. So we reduce damage versus bosses by 8%. Reduce decreased charge rate via combat sites by 15%. Wow. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't even using Queenbreaker right now. Yeah, this nerf kind of would have made more sense in Heresy. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not even using Queenbreaker right now. When we did our damage tests, it's like almost half of what the crossbow can do. All right, Outbreak Perfected, Barrel Dyad, and Hierarchy of Needs. These weapons are currently significant outliers in terms of super energy generation, particularly during raid and dungeon boss damage phases. A core part of their exotic identity is seeking projectiles for additional damage, but the projectiles are creating some issues with super tuning. So we want to tune that down instead of nerfing the weapon's damage output when that's ultimately not the issue culprit. All right, so Outbreak Perfected, reduce damage-based recharger super contribution, slightly reduce nanites damage-based recharger super contribution. Oof. All right, so this might just kill it. I'm gonna be honest, guys. Reducing the nanites and the base damage recharge super contribution. I don't think anybody, I'm probably not. We'll test it. There's a good chance we won't be using Outbreak Perfected. All right, Barrow Dyad, slightly reduced damage-based recharger super contribution of non-seekers. Reduce damage-based recharger super contribution via taken seekers. So same thing. Hierarchy of Needs, reduce damage-based recharger super contribution via guidance ring arrows. Okay. Oh boy. Thunderlord. We discovered an issue with Thunderlord's exotic catalyst, which was causing lightning strikes to refill more ammunition than was required to activate it. So we fixed this. Fixed an issue with Thunderlord Catalyst where it was refilling more ammo than intended. So you didn't have to use Actium War Rig with Thunderlord because it refilled itself with the lightning strikes. All right. So pretty much every weapon that was the raid meta or the weapons that allowed us to complete Desert Perpetual is getting messed up pretty hard here. I'm telling you, man, unless I told you, this epic raid is about to put it on us. Bungie doesn't want this. Look, they're not going to roll out DP and then call it epic DP and not expect to massively... I'm telling you, epic DP, they're calling it epic for a reason. And we better come in ready. If we come in this thing thinking we're going to just walk in there and make it happen like it's some normal 5 feet raid, we are going to get absolutely... I'm going to go say this right now, 40 hours. I'm gonna be away for 40 hours. Already know it. I'm expecting 40 hours. 3 vomits. We're a little too nonchalant here. I need us to treat this seriously. Okay. Rolling Ovation. Befitting its fantasy of damage phase prima donna, Rolling Ovation launch asking too much of players to really make the weapon shine against bosses. These changes should allow it to shine in a variety of damage rotations while maintaining the promise that dealing more damage with other weapons will always result in anticipation building faster. So increase the rate at which anticipation builds. A fairly optimized damage rotation utilizing Rolling Ovation should see the anticipation meter field time decrease from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. Less optimized damage rotations will see a more significant field time decrease. Okay. Bungie wants us to use it. Wow, 2 seconds? I don't know. I'll tell you what, if you nerf everything, I may have to use it. If you nerf everything else, boys, we might be using Rolling Ovation. You know what I mean? All right, weapon perks. Burning Ambition. We're overall very happy with how Burning Ambition is landing, but this perk uses some fancy new tech to make it easier for us to build and maintain these kind of perks. And in some cases, the enhanced versions of this perk would not provide a decrease in number of shots to activate. So time to activate threshold reduced from 2.5 seconds to 2 seconds. Enhanced time to activate threshold reduced from 2.25 to 2 seconds. Magazine base hit activation threshold reduced from 60% of the mag to 55%. That's nice. Enhanced mag base hit activation threshold is unchanged at 55% of the mag. When calculating the lower of the above thresholds, the perk no longer rounds down. Enhancing this now reduces the hits to activate by a flat 1 hit. Okay, that's good. So proccing burning ambition should be easier, should be better. Enhanced perk improvements. When we were initially developing enhanced perks, we had a strong vision around what they could be. Now with the system implemented alongside so many new enhanced perks, we feel more comfortable revisiting some old perks and granting them greater benefits to align them with the fantasies they're trying to deliver more. With that in mind, the following perks have had their enhancement benefits adjusted. So Dragonfly removed the +5 reload speed, added 10% damage to the explosion. Okay, all right. That's nice. Cluster bombs removed the +5 blast radius, added 10% damage to each cluster bomb. Reservoir bursts removed the +5 stability, added 10% to the enhanced shot damage. Oh shit. On top of the 25? Magnificent Howl removed +5 reload speed, added +5% damage to each enhanced shots. Eye of the Storm removed +5 stability, added 10% effectiveness to all Eye of the Storm benefits. Flash Counter removed +5 inventory size, added +1 second to disorient time. I'm gonna be honest, Bungie, I don't know if you can make this happen, but for Flash Counter, if you could just make everything aggro to me very aggressively, like I don't even want to disorient them. I want them to just immediately well on me. Like the moment I throw it up, you know what I'm saying? Like have them aggressively come on to me. You know what I'm saying? Chain reaction. Remove +20 inventory size. Added 10% damage to the explosion. Okay. Headstone. Remove +5 stability. Added new behavior. Precision kills always generate a large stasis crystal. Am I misunderstanding this? Doesn't it always? Oh, sometimes it's a small crystal. There's 2 sizes. Oh. I've actually never sat down and looked at them side by side. So now you're always going to get a big boy crystal. Okay. Chill Clip. Remove +5 stability. Add a new behavior. Players can now create slowing detonations from a lower percentage of the magazine. Good God. I'm telling you guys, get that new shotgun. All right. We did damage testing with it. Now that all these changes, Lord of Wolves just got nerfed too. Just throwing it out there, man. A Chill Clip version of that weapon. It may be the meta. All right. Hatchling. Remove +5 handling. Add a new behavior. There is a chance to generate 2 threadlings instead of 1. Ooh, nice. Weapon mods. Temporal blasts. Oh God. As we updated perk damage scaling with the explosions in the Edge of Fate, we missed updating temporal blasts to this philosophy, leading to a number of instances where this mod provides a wealth of extra damage, particularly on explosive weapons. To make space for some of the other seasonal mods and builds, we want to bring this down just a bit. No longer gains progress on splash damage. Reduce blast damage impulse by 66%. Note, these changes in tandem, on average, increase shots to ready explosion by 1 to 2 trigger pulls. They also reduce damage of the blast when caused by heavy weapons dramatically more than special primary weapons. For example, 75% nerf when used with crossbow or rockets, but only 23% with rocket pulse. Good God, Bungie. It's a seasonal mod. It's 1 season. It's gone. It's literally gone in December. The crossbow is dead. No, the crossbow is dead. And we're gonna have to redo all the damage testing. Motherfucker. I glazed the mod too much. Well, it was good. It was fantastic. Exotic armor tuning preview for Ashen Iron. Feature armor expansion. In Ashen Iron will also be expanding the featured exotic armor list. They'll benefit from the artifact buff, providing additional damage resistance and contribute to your score. To encourage some new build crafting selections, we've tuned a number of these additions. Core Spine, let's get it. Frosty, Stronghold, okay. Hazardous Propulsion, Chromatic Fire, Controverse Hold. Great, that's great, Bungie. But here's also another idea. What if there wasn't a feature list? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if we could use whatever we wanted to use? Titan. In Ashen Iron, we're reworking the exotic Stronghold arms. For a while now, they provided immense defensive benefits, but those benefits rarely proved to be valuable to players outside of niche situations. We're redistributing the power that this exotic provides to make build crafting with it more interesting, doubling down on the tank fantasy to make moment-to-moment decisions more engaging. Perfect Guard HUD buff now appears as a bar. Stacks no longer drop off 10 seconds after blocking damage. They persist until they are spent. Blocking larger amounts of incoming fire gains stacks at a slower rate, while blocking lower amounts of incoming fire gains stacks at a faster rate. Landing a direct hit on a light or heavy sword attack consumes 50% of your perfect guard charge, exhausting enemies' hits and instantly healing you and nearby allies. Landing sword hits while at max perfect guard stacks will now fully refill your sword energy instead of offering infinite guard duration. This enables back-to-back heavy attacks or allows immediate ability to block again. Now that it fully heals you and nearby allies, it no longer grants restoration. Gradually gains up to plus 50 guard resistance and plus 50 guard endurance based on the number of perfect guard stacks instead of the previous plus 100 guard resistance. Meaning you'll be able to build craft with your sword perks a bit more to maximize your defensive or offensive prowess. Gain 30% damage resist for 1.5 seconds upon exiting sword guard instead of gaining resist times 4 while blocking. This is now a generic source of damage resist and can stack with other sources of resist. Walking speed while guarding with a sword is now increased when moving in all directions instead of only forwards. Am I understanding this correctly? Am I not going to be able to fucking tank no more? Like, you're going to just give me 30% damage resist, Bungie? Am I not getting resist times 4? Right here. Gain 30% damage resist for 1.5 seconds upon exiting sword guard instead of gaining resist times 4 while blocking. Who is making these changes? Who are you? Is it an individual? Is it Todd? Who is it? Who's making these decisions? Look, man. Bungie, I appreciate you trying to give us whatever fantasy, use my sword. I like to just block with my sword and never die. That was fantasy. I'm gonna be honest. You didn't have to touch anything on Strongholds. You could have just looked the other way for the next decade and I probably would have been all right with it. You didn't have to do anything here. Hunter, Starter Arachne. Woven Mail is a strong buff, but without a means for regaining health, Strand Hunter struggles to stay in the fray. This change, the base exotic aims to increase some of that survivability while you grapple around combat. While Woven Mail is active, will now also return health on defeating an enemy. Good for you guys. Now, unintended patch notes. This is the class item right here. While updating Starter Arachne, we begin to investigate some adjustments to the Spirit of Starter Arachne to balance it a bit against other options on the exotic class item. We concluded this change was premature, but we're unable to fully remove the change before 9.1.0 was locked. While we intend to visit the effectiveness of this perk in the long run, we'll be rolling back the following change to the Woven Mail timer in our next available patch. So Spirit of Starter Arachne, duration of Woven Mail provided reduced from 10 seconds to 6. This will be reverted in our next available patch. So let me just get this right. In one paragraph, you completely kill Titan's ability to tank, and now you're making Hunter's tank here. Didn't we just have an article about class identity last week? Bungie, I'm a tank. That's what I'm supposed to. Titan, that's what we do. Warlocks, Chromatic Fire. Chromatic Fire is an exotic that ostensibly should be useful when a variety of subclasses and weapons, but in reality, the current design is only useful on certain subclasses with a subset of kinetic weapons. We're reworking it to be less dependent on your subclass to be useful and to be functional with all kinetic weapons. Yes, all. Detonation radius on precision kinetic final blows has increased by 36%. No longer applies keywords based on equipped super. Non-precision kinetic final blows also produce a detonation. The radius of this detonation is dependent on how many recent elemental final blows the player has achieved. Oh God. That's good. All right, Controverse Hold. Controverse Hold should have been a big winner with the stat rework, but ultimately it failed to shine in the Edge of Fate release meta. We're buffing the energy return, tuning it by grenade type to be aligned with how quickly the grenade cooldown lasts, and giving it a bit of a buff by providing weaken, freeing up some likely space in fragment selection when using this exotic. So charge grenades will now apply weaken. Energy return has been tuned per grenade type. Vortex grenades now gains increase slightly, but can no longer activate twice. Axion bolts, handheld supernova, and scatter grenade gains all received moderate increases. Man, y'all remember when Controverse was the meta? Remember that? Like doing like solo runs of GMs? Controverse was actually the meta. Abilities tuning preview for Ashen Iron. We've already detailed most of the ability changes coming in Ashen Iron in our Warlock tuning preview and our class identity write-up, but there are a few more we haven't talked about yet. So Hunter, Gambler's Dodge. In the Edge of Fate release, we changed the melee energy return from Gambler's Dodge to scale on the melee stats and no longer require dodging near an enemy. We're bringing back the dodging near enemies behavior to double the amount of energy you get while rescaling the stat bonus. This change brings back the gamble by allowing you to get close to enemies to double your ward while addressing Crucible feedback about Hunter melee spam. In PvE, having 50 melee stat and dodging near an enemy will now give you a full melee charge. And at 100 melee stat, dodging near an enemy will grant 2 melee charges from multi-charge abilities. Rescale the amount of melee energy generated by Gambler's Dodge from 100% at 70 stat points to 100% at 100 stat points. Dodging near enemy now doubles this amount. Reduce the the amount of melee energy generated in PvP. Note the amount of energy generated in PvP has been reduced by only 20% in this patch. When in patch 9.1.0.1, it will be reduced by a full amount of 50%. So yeah, it's going to be very strong until 9.1.0.1. But even then, man, it's still going to be very strong. Dude, I got to say, man, Bungie handles hunters like just the most delicate flowers that you guys are. Y'all know that? Every single time. Every time it's like a hunter. Bungie's like, don't piss the hunters off. Be very, very surgical with these changes. Lightweight throwing knives. We received strong feedback that lightweight throwing knives are frustrating to play against in Crucible. We're reducing their damage versus players, but continue to monitor the performance. Reduce damage versus players by 16%. General, Woven Mail. In order to fix an issue with Warlock's new Weave Walk behavior, we're making a change to Woven Mail application to make the duration no longer reset to the original Woven Mail source max duration. Now, when you proc Woven Mail, the duration will be the longer of these two options: the current time remaining or the new source's max duration. Woven Mail's application no longer resets duration to original source duration. Now, stats. We're still working out the kinks of our new stat system, and we made some changes to smooth out the experience. First up, we're making stats no longer increase damage against yourself. Stat damage bonuses no longer increase self-damage. Next, we're making the super stat the only stat that buffs your super damage. It's cleaner and more consistent this way. Melee and grenade stat damage bonuses no longer apply to melee and grenade damage done while in your super. Super stat continues to increase melee and grenade damage in the super. Those scales from the super stat. RIP Song of Flame. Yeah, we'll be looking at pre and post. We're gonna have a lot of pre and posts, obviously. We're also fixing a technical issue that was causing the class stat to only increase the benefits when you hit a multiple of 10. Fix an issue. With the class stat energy benefits, we're not scaling smoothly between increments of 10. Finally, we have a fix for mods and perks that increases players' mobility. Correct an issue where the upper end of mobility stat benefits was set too low, resulting in mobility boosts like the athletic mods appearing to grant less mobility and attendance. We're looking forward to getting these ability changes in the wild. In addition to these changes, we're also shipping some Warlock buffs that we mentioned a few tweets back. Hunter and Titan buffs will be coming later in our 9.1.5 October release. That's it from the sandbox team for upcoming Ash and Iron changes. We'll be watching, launching, and ingesting all the feedback that comes our way from these changes. See y'all in the Plague Lands. Well, how do we feel? Ash and shit. Can we get a poll on this? I'm not gonna comment. This is up. I'm letting y'all poll this. I'm not going to say anything. I'm excited that things like Sturm and Hawkmoon is going to be buffed with Lucky Pants. That is very exciting. There are some class identities, though, most notably the Stronghold build that just looks like it's getting neutered. Don't get me wrong. Like, the damage resist is going to be nice, right? But the idea of strongholds and a sword is to sit there and block forever. And I know it's kind of cheesy, but it's amazing. And it was only really good last season in Heresy because we had unraveling rounds and the artifact mod that allowed us to proc bolt charge very easily with unraveling rounds. And you could apply it there to the strand sword. I know we have like the chill clip sword right now. Not the chill clip sword. What is it? It's the cold steel flash counter combo. But that's still not, in my opinion, not as strong as the unraveling build last season with our strand sword. The other big nerf is Temporal Blast. And let's just be clear. The reason why you're seeing Temporal Blast get a nerf, why you're seeing a number of exotics get a nerf, you can literally just go down the list of the best weapons in the game damage-wise that would what? Give us an advantage in the Epic Raid. And that's what they're addressing. That is what they're addressing. From Super Regeneration to possibly Queenbreaker getting out of hand, which I didn't think it was going to get that out of hand, but whatever. Grand Overture, Lord of Wolves. That's why they're doing what they're doing. All right, how do you feel about the patch notes? 76% says trash, 19% says mid, 5% says awesome. All right, well, we'll see, man. We'll be doing pre and posts, and everybody get ready. I think the Epic Raid is going to be really, really difficult. I don't think it's going to mess around, especially with these changes. This stuff is about to be tough.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.